And welcome back. You know, more rainfall and other problems are putting a lot of strain on America's infrastructure. Dave is here now to explain what's happening and what it's going to take to fix it. Hey.
About 10 or 15 years ago, Russell, I had heard reports that we had a lot of problems with our levees and our dams. And now here we are today as they get worse and worse and worse. This is a very disturbing study as well. The American Society of Civil Engineers flat out just gave our flooding infrastructure a D. A D, and that's at best. And we're talking about 91,000 plus dams. Okay, they need $93.6 billion in upgrades. The thing that people don't realize is when you build a dam, it's just not there forever. I mean, look at the cracks in some of these videos. These only last on average between 50 and 57 years, and they have to be fixed. They have to be maintained. And the problem is they're not. And this could lead to some catastrophic problems. So you go back to 2020, Congress appropriated $10 million for this program. They need $93.6 billion. Congress said, here's $10 million. And here's another very scary statistic when it comes to the dams, Russell. And I'll get to the levees in a second. That many people living on property that would be flooded if a dam failed don't know about it because federal officials blocked public access to inundation maps after September 11th. They blocked this access. Some states, California being one of them, have reacquired that access for the public, so the public can now know if they're in an area that could be flooded. So most people and some big cities are built on dams and levees and stuff in the country. They don't know the shape their dam or levee is in. They don't know whether they would be flooded or not. This could be a huge, huge problem. And we'll talk about levees in a second, but what do you think about that? It's a very disturbing report.
No, well, yeah, it is. And that the part about the 9/11 is makes perfect sense, too. That, you know, you don't want bad folks having access or knowing the plans for things like that.
Indeed. But you also need your folks to know that if something was to happen to these dams, that you know, or levees,
yeah, good point,
that you need to know if you're at risk. Now, there's 40,000 miles of levees that are having this same problem as well. And I think we see more levee breaches than we actually do dam breakages at this point. They need $21 billion in upgrades. In addition to that, here's something you don't know. Behind many of these levees, there are federally protected sites, toxic release inventories like Superfund sites that would be flooded if these levees gave way. So there's another problem. I don't know if you know much about Superfund sites, which where all the hazardous waste is collected and they're trying to clean those up. And if levees start dealing with, you know, moving into those areas, now you've got another whole problem. But the big question is, where are you going to come up with this $93 billion? And this stuff needs to be done because it's only going to take, unfortunately, one breach to cause problems with, obviously, life and money. Now, listen to this. In September 2019, 17 million people live behind levees, okay? And that protects $2.3 trillion in property. That's a massive amount of problems we're going to have if these levees break or these dams break. So I don't know how to fix this. It's obviously a money issue. And with precipitation increasing around the country, just in general, this problem's going to get worse and worse. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist. This is a true study. They don't do these studies every single year. The last time they did this was 1998, and they were just as bad back then, and they've gotten no better now.
Maybe just one big work project, you know, like they did in the Depression to build the interstate highway system. And they built a bunch of dams back then too. You know, maybe it's time to do that.
And you know what? Maybe that would help create jobs, and put people in a situation to get back. And you know what? Maybe this is something that can be talked about in Congress now. Let's fund this, especially the ones like that are most at risk.
Yeah, some sort of post-COVID relief effort. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, got to run. Thanks, man.